Ready to unlock some ancient secrets.
Let's do it.
We're diving deep into Kautilya's Arthasastra.
Okay.
Think of it like a 2,000-year-old guide to power, strategy, and even espionage.
Yeah.
You've got questions about this ancient text.
I bet.
Trust me, it's way more exciting than your average history lesson.
What's fascinating about the Arthasastra is that it's not just some ancient text gathering dust.
Right.
It offers a window into leadership, strategy, and human nature that's as relevant now as it was then.
Okay.
Whether you're running a company, negotiating a deal, or just trying to understand why people do what they do.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not every day you find a text that claims to have all the answers to life's biggest questions.
That's true.
Especially one that's over 2 millennia old.
Right.
So who was this Kautilya guy, and what makes his work so intriguing?
That's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
We know this potential mastermind by several names. Kautilya, Vishnugupta, Chanakya. The details of his life are a bit of a mystery, adding to the intrigue.
Right.
Some scholars believe he was a key advisor to Chandragupta Maurya, the founder of the Mauryan Empire, around 321 BCE.
So picture ancient India, empires rising, and this figure, Kautilya, potentially pulling the strings from behind the scenes?
Potentially, yeah.
That's a captivating image.
It is.
But how can we be sure he even existed?
Good question.
Did he write this massive work all by himself?
It's a bit of a puzzle, actually. The Arthasastra claims to be from that era. But some scholars believe it might be a compilation of works by multiple authors.
Oh, wow.
Or have been added to over time.
Okay.
It wasn't rediscovered until 1905.
Wow.
And wasn't even translated into English until 1915.
Talk about a late bloomer.
I know, right?
Okay, so we've got this ancient text, potentially written by a mysterious mastermind.
Yes.
But what's actually in the Arthasastra?
Get ready,
Okay.
because it's a wild ride.
Okay.
This text is divided into 15 books, each diving into a different aspect of statecraft.
Okay.
Think of it as a manual for ruling a kingdom,
Okay.
covering everything from political philosophy and economics to military tactics and, yes, even espionage.
Wow.
It's shockingly comprehensive.
A king's ultimate playbook.
Basically.
I can already tell we're only going to scratch the surface today.
We've got a lot to cover, yeah.
But where do we even begin with a text this broad?
It's true.
What was life like for a king back then?
The Arthasastra lays out a highly regimented life for a king,
Okay.
where discipline and knowledge were paramount. Imagine a young prince starting his education with a ceremony called tonsure,
Okay.
a symbolic head shaving that marked the beginning of his rigorous training.
Wait, they shaved the poor kid's head.
They did.
That's a pretty intense way to start school.
It was meant to signify a separation from his childhood and entry into a world of serious study.
Oh, wow.
He'd then live a highly structured life, surrounded by learned elders and advisors, all aimed at molding him into a wise and capable ruler.
No wonder kings of old were so serious.
Right.
They went straight from childhood to ruler boot camp.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the king, his rigorous education. Now let's talk about the part that everyone secretly loves. Espionage.
Everybody loves a little espionage.
The Arthasastra is famous for this, right?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Kautilya dedicated a significant chunk of the Arthasastra to the art of spying.
Wow.
He outlines different types of spies,
Okay.
from the householder spy blending into everyday life to, yes, the ascetic spy disguised as a wandering holy man.
A spy dressed as a holy man.
You heard right.
That's next level sneaky.
It's pretty clever.
What was the strategic thinking behind that?
It was all about access and perception.
Okay.
Ascetics were often seen as detached observers, able to move freely and gather information without arousing suspicion.
Okay.
Think about it. Who suspects the wandering holy man?
That's brilliant.
Right.
And a little unsettling.
Just a bit.
So we've got spies everywhere.
Potential.
What were their missions like?
Their tasks were as varied as their disguises.
Wow.
Some were tasked with gathering intel,
Okay.
while others spread rumors to create chaos, sow discord,
Oh,
or even worse.
wow.
Kautilya believed that information was power,
Okay.
and that controlling that information, even manipulating it, was key to maintaining control.
It's like a high-stakes game of chess,
Mm.
but with real-life consequences.
Exactly.
And speaking of strategy, did kings just rule by decree, or was there a place for counsel and advisors?
Kautilya understood that even kings need guidance.
Oh,
He was a strong advocate for wise counsel.
Okay.
even outlining the ideal size for a council, not too large, not too small.
Why the concern about council size?
It's a good question.
It seems like more opinions would be better.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
Cotillier argued that a small council could become too secretive and prone to errors,
Okay.
while a large one could be inefficient and prone to leaks. It was all about balance, ensuring open discussion but also maintaining secrecy when necessary.
Okay.
He also placed high importance on envoys,
Okay.
diplomats who served as the king's eyes and ears in foreign lands.
So these envoys were like ancient diplomats,
Yes.
but with maybe a bit more intrigue involved.
Exactly.
Okay.
They had to be skilled negotiators, shrewd observers,
Right.
and masters of reading between the lines.
Okay.
Think of them as diplomats and spies rolled into one, gathering intel and building relationships,
Mm-hmm.
all while projecting their king's agenda.
Right. So we've got kings being molded into wise rulers, surrounded by carefully selected advisors, and a network of spies lurking everywhere.
It's like a recipe for success.
It's like something out of a movie.
Right.
But this kingdom still needs to be built.
Of course.
How does the Arthasastra tackle the nitty-gritty of construction and city planning?
Cotillier was surprisingly practical when it came to building a kingdom. He goes into detail about establishing villages and constructing fortified cities,
Okay.
emphasizing strategic locations and natural resources.
Okay.
Imagine a network of forts, each strategically placed: water forts,
Okay.
mountain forts,
Hmm.
forest forts,
Wow.
all designed to protect the kingdom from invaders.
He was like an ancient city planner.
In a way, yeah.
Were these forts just bare-bones defenses, or did they have more to offer?
Oh, these were far from basic. Think
Wow.
moats, ramparts, and even secret passages.
Wow.
All meticulously designed to make these cities practically impenetrable.
Right.
He understood that a well-defended kingdom was a deterrent to enemies and a symbol of strength to its citizens.
That's some seriously impressive ancient engineering.
It is.
But building a kingdom takes more than just stone and strategy.
True.
How did they handle the financial side of things? Taxes, trade, all that fun stuff.
Cotillier believed in meticulous management, even when it came to finances.
Mm-hmm.
He outlines a detailed system for managing state revenue,
Mhm.
including taxes, tolls, and fines.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't afraid to tax a wide range of activities and goods,
Okay.
understanding that revenue streams were essential for a thriving kingdom.
So what kind of things were taxed back then?
Let me see.
I'm picturing ancient tolls booths and market inspectors.
It wasn't that different from today, really.
Okay.
They had land taxes, tolls on goods entering and leaving the city,
Mm-hmm.
taxes on commodities like textiles and livestock,
Okay.
and even perfumes.
Perfumes.
Yeah.
They even taxed fragrances.
You did.
Wow.
It shows the level of detail and thought that went into Cotillier's economic policies.
Okay.
He understood that every aspect of the economy,
Mm-hmm.
even something as seemingly small as perfume, could contribute to the kingdom's overall wealth.
It sounds like he had a finger on the pulse of the entire kingdom's operation.
He liked to be in the know.
But beyond collecting taxes, how did they ensure that these resources were being managed effectively?
Cotillier believed in transparency and accountability. He stressed the importance of meticulous record-keeping and outlined strict punishments for embezzlement.
Okay.
He understood that corruption could undermine even the most prosperous kingdom, so he built safeguards into the system from the ground up.
It sounds like he was centuries ahead of his time with these anti-corruption measures.
It's true,
But a kingdom needs more than just money to thrive.
of course.
What about resources like metals, gems, and other valuable commodities?
The Arthasastra dedicates quite a bit of space to managing these resources.
Okay.
It even includes remarkably detailed descriptions of different types of gems, their qualities, and even how to spot fakes.
Was he a gemologist in his spare time?
Possibly.
This guy had a lot of expertise.
He understood that knowledge was power,
Oh.
and that extended to recognizing the value and management of precious resources.
Okay.
He advocated for dedicated officials to oversee mines, forests, and even water sources, recognizing the strategic importance of controlling these assets.
It's amazing how he saw the interconnectedness of all these different aspects of a kingdom. It's like a giant, complex system.
It's all connected.
Speaking of which, we've talked about fortified cities.
Right.
But what about other infrastructure?
Sure.
Roads, irrigation, things like that.
Cotillier recognized that infrastructure was the backbone of a strong and prosperous kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
He highlighted the importance of well-maintained roads, efficient irrigation systems,
Okay.
and public works projects like dams and reservoirs.
Okay.
He saw these not just as conveniences,
Okay.
but as crucial investments in the kingdom's long-term economic growth and the well-being of its people.
So basically, he was a big believer in government investment in infrastructure,
Seems so.
a concept that's still debated today.
I know, right?
What stands out to you as particularly interesting or relevant about Kautilya's approach to infrastructure?
It's the way he understood that all these systems were interconnected.
Right.
Roads weren't just for travel.
Mm-hmm.
They facilitated trade, military movement, and communication.
Irrigation wasn't just for agriculture.
Right.
It supported population growth and food security, even helping to prevent famine.
It's like he had this holistic view of the kingdom as a living organism,
Right.
with each part playing a vital role in its overall health and success.
Precisely.
Okay.
And it's that kind of systems thinking that makes the Arthasastra so fascinating and insightful even today. He understood that a kingdom's success wasn't just about military might or economic power.
Okay.
It was about the delicate balance of countless interconnected elements working in harmony.
It's both impressive and a bit daunting to think about.
It is, isn't it?
This Kautilya really did think of everything.
He seemed to.
But before we get too caught up in admiration,
Okay.
it's important to remember that not all of his recommendations were exactly ethical.
That's true.
This brings us back to the skies.
Okay.
We touched on their different roles, but I'm dying to know more about their tactics and how they operated in the shadows.
Buckle up.
Because we're going deep into the world of ancient espionage. The Arthasastra describes a network of spies as intricate and fascinating as any modern spy thriller.
Wow.
We're talking coded messages,
Right.
secret signs, even dead drops,
Oh.
leaving messages in prearranged locations.
Wow. Okay.
These spies were masters of covert communication, blending into society, gathering information, and manipulating events from the shadows.
It sounds like they had a tactic for every occasion.
They did.
Were there any rules for these spies, or was it all fair game in the name of the kingdom?
Well, the Arthasastra advocates for strategic ruthlessness.
Okay.
It also outlines the importance of carefully selecting and managing these spies.
Okay.
Remember those vulnerabilities we talked about earlier?
Right.
Those weren't just randomly exploited.
Okay.
Kautilya believed that understanding someone's motivations and weaknesses was key to ensuring their loyalty and effectiveness.
So it wasn't just about finding anyone willing to spy.
Right.
They had to be the right kind of person for the job. Precisely.
How fascinating. And let's not forget, this was a risky business.
Very true.
The Arthasastra also outlines punishments for spies who failed in their missions, or, even worse, betrayed the king's trust.
That's right.
It was a dangerous game with high stakes for everyone involved.
It was.
High stakes, and I imagine no shortage of intrigue.
Oh, definitely.
I'm curious about one particular type of spy we haven't discussed much yet. The classmate spy.
Okay.
It seems almost diabolical to plant spies in schools and social circles.
It's a bit sneaky.
What was the thinking behind that tactic?
It highlights a crucial aspect of intelligence gathering,
Okay.
that valuable information can come from the most unexpected places.
Okay.
Kautilya understood that knowledge was power.
Right.
And sometimes that meant going undercover in plain sight.
Okay.
Think about it.
Okay.
Who suspects the seemingly harmless classmate?
Right.
It's a tactic that's still relevant today.
With social media intelligence playing a significant role in everything from business to international relations.
It's amazing how these ancient strategies still resonate in our modern world.
How true.
It really makes you wonder what else Kautilya understood about human nature and the dynamics of power.
Right.
But before we delve too far down that rabbit hole,
Sure.
let's shift gears and talk about a different aspect of the Arthasastra diplomacy.
Okay.
It wasn't all about spying and subterfuge, right?
No, not at all.
There was an art to navigating relationships with other kingdoms. Tell me more about that. So we've got spies, we've got strategy, but it sounds like Kautilya also understood that sometimes a kingdom needs to rely on diplomacy.
Diplomacy was actually central to Kautilya's statecraft.
Okay.
He wasn't just about brute force or sneaky tactics.
Right.
He outlined a six-fold policy for dealing with other kingdoms.
Okay.
Peace, war, neutrality, marching, alliance, and double policy.
Six-fold policy.
Yeah. Okay. It's basically a decision-making framework for rulers, helping them navigate the ever-changing landscape of international relations.
Okay, six-fold policy. That sounds like we're about to break out a chalkboard and start diagramming.
Maybe.
Break it down for me.
Okay.
What does each part of this policy represent?
Imagine it like this.
Okay.
You're the ruler, and you've got these 6 options on the table.
Okay.
Peace is pretty self-explanatory, aiming for harmonious relations.
Right.
War, unfortunately, is sometimes necessary to protect your interests or defend your kingdom.
Mm-hmm.
Neutrality is all about strategic non-alignment, staying out of conflicts that don't directly impact you.
So far, so good.
Yeah.
Those seem like fairly standard options for any ruler, even today.
Right.
What about the other 3?
Right. Those are where it gets interesting.
Right.
Marching is about strategic positioning and preparation for potential conflict.
Okay.
Think of it like flexing your military muscles to deter aggression or demonstrate strength.
Right.
Alliances are crucial, forming strategic partnerships with other kingdoms that share your interests.
Alliances, I can see that being super valuable.
Very important.
Teaming up to achieve a common goal, classic strategy.
Right.
What about that last one, double policy?
Ah, yes.
That sounds a bit morally ambiguous.
That's putting it mildly.
Okay.
Double policy is definitely the most controversial aspect of Kautilya's thinking.
Okay.
It involves using deception, manipulation, and even outright lies to achieve your goals.
Wow.
It's about sowing discord among your enemies, using propaganda, maybe even instigating conflict to weaken your opponents.
That's some next-level political maneuvering.
It is.
It makes you wonder if any modern leaders are taking a page out of Kautilya's playbook.
I'm sure some are.
But even with all this strategic thinking, there must have been times when conflict was unavoidable.
Sure.
What did Kautilya consider a just cause for war?
He outlines a few scenarios.
Okay.
And they're actually not that different from what many would consider justifiable today. Self-defense, obviously, if your kingdom is under attack.
Right.
Territorial expansion, although that gets a bit trickier.
Right.
And punishing an aggressor. Holding other rulers accountable for their actions.
So he wasn't advocating for war as a first resort.
No, he understood that war was a last resort.
Right.
Something to be avoided if at all possible.
Okay.
He emphasized careful consideration of the potential costs and benefits before engaging in any kind of military action.
That's surprisingly level-headed considering some of his other recommendations.
Right.
But war is costly, even for the victors.
That's true.
What about that neutrality option?
Right.
When would that have been the best course of action?
Neutrality was especially crucial for weaker kingdoms.
Okay.
It allowed them to avoid getting caught in the crossfire of larger conflicts, conserving their resources, and staying focused on their own internal development.
Okay.
It was about choosing your battles wisely and not letting ambition outweigh the potential risks.
It sounds like Kautilya was a master of balancing all these different approaches, picking the right strategy for the right situation.
He's all about strategy.
It's like he saw the world as this giant game of strategy with kingdoms as the players and every decision carrying significant weight.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
The Arthasastra constantly emphasizes strategic thinking on multiple levels, anticipating your opponent's moves while also understanding the long-term consequences of your own actions.
Right.
And that's what makes it so fascinating. Even though it was written centuries ago, it still offers valuable insights into the timeless dynamics of power, strategy, and human nature.
It's a lot to process.
It is.
We've gone from the intricacies of ancient Indian statecraft to the psychology of spies,
Yeah.
from the logistics of building a kingdom to the high-stakes game of international diplomacy.
That's right.
What's the key takeaway for our listener who might be thinking, this is all fascinating, but what does it have to do with my life?
The beauty of the Arthasastra is that it's not just a history lesson. It's a guidebook for understanding human behavior and navigating the complexities of power dynamics.
Okay.
Whether you're negotiating a deal, managing a team, or just trying to understand the motivations of the people around you, the principles outlined in this ancient text offer surprisingly relevant insights into the world we live in today.
It's like we've unlocked a secret code to human behavior,
Mm-hmm.
but one that's been hidden in plain sight for centuries.
Exactly.
Wow.
And by understanding these timeless principles, we can become more effective leaders, negotiators, and even just more insightful individuals, capable of navigating the challenges and opportunities that life throws our way with a little more wisdom and strategic thinking.
Well said.
Thank you.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder the wisdom of Kautilya.
It's worth thinking about.
From the importance of strategic thinking and careful planning to the more unsettling realities of power and manipulation, the Arthasastra offers a wealth of knowledge that's both fascinating and thought-provoking.
It really does.
Join us next time for another deep dive into a new topic.
See you then.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those ancient secrets in mind. You never know when they might come in handy.